A decision that all riders will have to make at some point, particularly those less experienced, is what level of rubber they throw onto their steed for use on the track. Assuming money were no object, I'm sure many riders would end up with a similar conclusion, to go for the best they can get. In this video, we're going to talk about why you might not necessarily want to head out and buy the most sticky, expensive hoops you can get your hands on. It goes without saying that super sticky race rubber is going to give riders the greatest potential for grip, bringing with it bigger safety margins for rider error. But that high grip ceiling doesn't come without its drawbacks. Not only will the tyre cost more, but they'll wear out quicker too, meaning you're paying over the odds for a tyre they likely can't appreciate the full potential of anyway. What this means is that, ultimately, buying them becomes false economy. But the drawbacks aren't exclusively around cost. These super sticky tyres offer grip levels far higher than a substantial amount of riders on the track are able to use. So how can you ever expect to get comfortable with and learn something about their traction limits while using them? Then there's the fact that as you move up the stickiness scale, the tyre needs to be worked harder in order to get the heat into it and make it work properly. For example, an under temperature racing slick isn't going to give you the same level of traction you'd get from an up to temperature road biased track tyre. The racing slick costs considerably more than these tyres, yet if you can't get it up to temperature, you're seeing virtually zero benefits from it, apart from a psychological advantage perhaps. Some schools in the UK even use sports touring tyres because they know they'll offer enough grip for students to be able to ride comfortably, they'll last a good few thousand miles more, and they can sometimes cost half the price. So where's the difference between these tyres? In terms of lean angle potential, there's really not a lot in it, as this picture shows from the launch event of the old Dunlop Road Smart 2 back in 2011. Now, this picture will look familiar to many of you because it isn't the first time I've actually shown it. But again, I think it offers a great demonstration of the potential from a lean angle perspective, so I'm showing it again here. Having said that, high lean angle doesn't instantly mean uber quick lap times. And the biggest differences in less race-focused tyres will come from two areas in particular. The first is on the brakes. Less track-focused rubber isn't going to give you the same level of grip when hard on the brakes and when carrying much of that braking effort into the corner, affecting just how quickly you can get into that corner. And the second is on the power. Where a racing slick or cut race tyre would offer oodles of grip for the latest litre sports bikes to lay down all that power and fire out of the corner, lesser rubber won't withstand that onslaught, affecting how early and hard the bike can be driven forward. But again, it's worth pointing out that many riders still won't be at a level that allows them to make use of that grip anywhere close to its full potential. Balancing learning and safety. Using less sticky rubber in the interest of learning and money saving alone is all well and good to a point. But when you start going too far in the other direction, you start to raise questions about safety. I'm not suggesting for 1 second that riders pick up the cheapest black hoops they can find that will fit on their bike. From a safety standpoint, for most riders I would suggest picking something up that was designed with track riding in mind, just not necessarily something that was designed for riders at the front of a national or international championship. For those of you that saw my review of the Pirelli Rosso Corsa 2, you'll know what I think of that level of tyre. The kind of tyre that was designed for sporty road riders that want to get a few track days in too. This is the level of tyre I'd personally recommend for a lot of track riders, particularly novice and intermediate group riders, but to be honest, these tyres are so good that I believe that many fast group riders would be more than happy with them too. There's no need to just take my word for it though. Punch any of them into Google or YouTube and see how people are using them, then consider where you sit on that ability scale in relation to how they're being used. You may just be surprised. Your technique still has to be there. It should be said now that while I'm telling you to think about going for tyres that offer less grip on paper, I do it under the assumption that all of you reading this will be applying and practicing good technique. Super sticky race rubber does an amazing job of hiding any glaring errors in your riding, so you could even argue that riders not practicing good technique need that rubber to save their bacon. But if a rider does fall off at the track on less race-focused rubber, does that really mean the rubber was no good? Not necessarily. It could be that their poor technique simply didn't give the tyre a fighting chance. The trouble is, by that point the mental damage is already done. But if you're practicing good technique, then you're going to put yourself in the best position to feel the signs from these so-called lesser tyres and actually learn something about traction limits. And the last point I want to make on this is to think of your wallet or your purse. If you can afford the latest and greatest rubber and you want to buy it, I'm not going to argue with you. I did exactly the same thing when I started out. But if you're one of many who are looking to save the pennies wherever they can, in hindsight I would say going for less race-focused rubber is a very realistic option for you. The biggest disadvantage is that the tyres will have less in reserve to deal with glaring rider issues. But if you're somewhere close to the mark in what is expected of you from a technique standpoint, this point shouldn't come into play. It's sometimes hard not to listen to and follow the crowd and just go with what everyone else is using, simply because you don't know any better. But if you're not scared to try something a little different, you may be surprised at just what you find. What tyres are you using right now? And have you ever downgraded the rubber you use on the track? Tell us about it in the comments down below. And as always, if you like the video, then please hit the button and subscribe to the channel for more performance riding advice and guides moving forward. I'll see you in the next one.